I a real boy?
So I just got back from seeing Brahms, The Boy 2. I have to confess that prior to this movie's trailer, which just dropped a few weeks ago, I had no idea there was a movie called The Boy. So I watched that one to prepare for this one, which in hindsight seemed pretty unnecessary, as there are several recaps within the film itself that tell you all you need to know about the first Boy film. That film must have done well because Lauren Cohen was big on The Walking Dead when it was still in its prime. That movie is pretty terrible, except we do get to see Lauren Cohen in her underwear, but we also got to see her in her underwear on The Walking Dead, and also internet, so why bother? But since that movie must have done well, here's a sequel to a movie that doesn't deserve one. In this one, Katie Holmes and her family leave the city and move near the location of the last movie so that stuff can happen. If you saw the trailers, you guessed it. This one decides to be more supernatural than the first movie, which somehow makes it worse than the first one. If you've seen every creepy doll movie ever, you've seen literally everything this movie has to offer. This movie feels like it was created by an algorithm that spits out shitty January horror movies and draws its source material from the big old bag of horror movie cliches, with such classics as creepy dolls, fake out dream sequences, cheap jump scares, dead animals, creepy kids doing creepy things, shadows in the background, levitation without explanation, bugs, cobwebs, old houses, creepy groundskeepers, creepy drawings of people getting murdered, people thinking each other are crazy, ye old now you see it, now you don't, extended research scenes, sequel baiting, and much, much more. The movie literally opens on a jump scare, one of which was in the trailer. One of the biggest horror movie sins are exhausting the audience with way too many jump scares. Here's a free pro tip. Horror movies advertised with a hashtag on the TV spot equal bad. It is movies like this that often remind me of why I'm not a bigger horror fan than I am. For every decent horror movie that is genuinely scary and unique, there are always 20 plus bad ones that follow. This is unfortunately one of many, many bad horror films I've seen this year already that are just plain weak.
Shit's weak! Shit's weak! This shit's weak! Lizzie!
You never had a chance, Timmy.
I'll get you eventually, Graybush. Time is on my side.
Hey, at least I have a bush.
Shit's weak!
Oh, hey, Samantha.
It has nothing to do with the PG-13 ratings. I've seen plenty of PG-13 movies that can be scary in the hands of better directors. As I started to mentally check out like most of the audience did while they were fiddling with their phones in the middle of the theater, I couldn't stop thinking of how ballsy it would be to have a horror movie using a doll that doesn't look like it was created to be a creepy horror movie trope, but something creepy in its own playful way, like a Cabbage Patch Kid. I'm not a fan of most creepy doll movies because they all seem to suffer under the same bag of cliche movie tropes I already mentioned. I know a lot of people like Annabelle, but I'm not a fan of that either. But then they made 50 of those, so now we have Brahms. Brahms is to Annabelle what Playmobil the movie is to the Lego movie. A cheap knockoff of something that never should have been made in the first place. I mean, for fuck's sakes, even Chucky had personality because you had an amazingly talented actor like Brad Dourif voicing the character and some amazing practical animation. With creepy dolls like Brahms and Annabelle, you can only do the creepy head turn and now you see it, now you don't shtick so many times before you're literally showing the same movie every year. Since the Annabelle and Brahms come from different studios, I doubt we'd ever get a versus movie, but just for the sake of entertainment value, guess who would win in an epic battle between Annabelle and Brahms? Nobody! Everybody dies of boredom. I guess the only thing I can praise this for is that it has 3 acts. It's pretty easy to follow, and it's just under 90 minutes. The acting is pretty dull. Katie Holmes seems like she's on her last gig before doing Hallmark Channel originals. The rest of the characters in this film are extremely forgettable placeholders designed to move the plot along. A lot of the characters' motivations seem delayed just for the sake of lazily moving to the next plot point because movie has to happen. For example, there are multiple scenes of Katie Holmes Googling the doll and never completely learning the entire story behind it until the last act of the movie. It was so unbelievably predictable that I could have probably closed my my eyes and told you the ending before it even happened. If there was any twist in this movie, I've already forgotten it because I just really didn't care anymore. I'm giving this movie a 1 out of 5 cheese curds. Big stinky Limburger chunks. This is just a lifeless husk of a cliche of a movie that is a waste of time. Now somebody go make that Cabbage Patch Kid movie and don't wake me up for the next unforgettable sequel to this farce. I'm predicting it will probably be called Brahms Resurrection.
Shit's weak.
Oh, hey.